It was the beginning of May, and we were speeding into summer. A dark and slippery winter evening, when I was out plowing the yard, I happened to slip on a patch of ice down by the entrance to the farm. To avoid sliding the tractor into the ditch, I swerved a little too hard and accidentally backed the plow blade into the fence, which collapsed like a house of cards. It's probably taken a little bit too long to fix, and the neighbors have started asking, "What happened to the fence?" To which I slightly shrug my shoulders and reply somewhat jokingly, "If you don't think you have enough to do, you might as well create some more work for yourself." Well, now the day has finally arrived when I can get down to mending the fence. Because within a week or so, I want to be able to release the rams onto the small paddock next to the road, so they can get used to the strong spring grass before they're released for the summer out on our natural pastures. Later in the afternoon, I started a project I have long dreamed of having here on the farm, and which I have now decided to finally try to construct. First, I need a marble countertop I've stored behind the sheep barn for all these years.
So yesterday was a fantastic day. We had the first real taste of summer, you can say. We had about 24 degrees Celsius and wonderful day, absolutely beautiful. It was unfortunately it's not gonna last. This week will be a little bit cooler. We're getting maybe 12 degrees today, and then it's gonna be about 13, 12, between 10 and 13. So yeah, yesterday was an appetizer, but we got a lot done. It was a wonderful day. The kids were outside a lot, playing with Legos, we were playing football or soccer, and yeah, had lunch outside, had dinner outside. The grass is really starting to grow now, but it'll slow down a little bit when it cools again. But the soil is warming up nicely, so we're gonna get an explosion of grass if the temperatures keep rising. But now they're going to be a little bit on the cooler side for the next 10 days, so I don't think I'm gonna let any animals out just yet. Maybe in a week or a week and a half, we'll see. The ewes still need to be sheared, and the sheep shearer is coming at the end of May, so maybe I keep them inside, or maybe I let them out into a paddock here, which they can just be herded back into the shed when he arrives. We'll see. But yeah, yesterday I was working a lot on the outdoor kitchen. The plan is to have the kitchen here with a roof over, so you can stand here and cook regardless of if it's raining or bad weather. And on this side I'll have maybe a stove. Try to keep it minimalist, we'll see. I have a lot of things that I've salvaged over the years, including this marble countertop right here, which was in one big nice piece yesterday, but when I was gonna move it down, I put it aside in order to move the camera, and it broke in 2 pieces, so a little bit unfortunate. But you know, that's the way life is. Things don't always go according to your plan, and when things change, you just gotta change with them and be a little bit curious. So now I'm thinking, okay, now I have 2 pieces all of a sudden. How do I solve this puzzle? And this opens up an opportunity I didn't think about, because the countertop will be like an L. That piece will be against the wall, and this one will come out as it is now. And then on that side I'll have a little stove, maybe a place to have some water, and then it'll be like a small, you know, a small U that you sort of can stand into, and the roof on top. So that'll be great. And on this side we're gonna do the patio. So the idea is to maybe during the summer be able to do as much cooking as possible and spend as much time outside. So if we can move the cooking part of our ordinary daily routines outside, I think the kids will spend a lot more time outside, and both my wife and I will spend a lot more time outside. And since we get such short summers here in Sweden, we had an 8-month winter. My wife checked back on the temperatures. Even in September it started getting cold here. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Yeah. So now we really want to enjoy the little time that we have. I mean, things are so easy when you have summer or when you have good weather. Everything becomes easy when you don't have to battle the ice and the snow and the cold and the darkness. It makes you wonder why don't we live somewhere else? But Sweden is a nice place to live. It's a very nice place. So it's the cold and the darkness which are difficult, but we're not going to think about those now. We're moving into summer. The light is returning, and new possibilities, new days. It's really quite beautiful morning here.
The garden is slowly coming back to life. After a winter of rest and a previous year of high ambitions in the early summer that were quickly crushed when the weeds and the workload became too much for my wife to handle alone. Since I was fully occupied running the farm, taking care of chores and preparing for the new flock of layer hens that would arrive in October, I had, to my own disappointment, no time to help her with the gardening. This year, I hope things will be different. If there's one thing that these 14 years of life as a farmer have taught me, it's that the way you make your bed, you will sleep. This is an old Swedish proverb, and is certainly true in that sense, that if you neglect to do things properly from the very beginning, you will later have problems, and sometimes even pay a high price.
So the garden is going good. I have 3 of these long beds left to do. So it's moving along gradually. It's nice that it's overcast today. It was very hot yesterday and the soil, everything dries so quickly. But this looks very dry on the surface, it is, but just a few centimeters underneath here there's soil that you can sort of form into a ball, and that's a good sign. So this is going to make it a lot easier to keep the weeds away. We set some potatoes this morning, my wife and I, and there's a lot of onions from last year that I'm going to harvest now, but it's nice to get the potatoes in the ground. Maybe we'll be able to have fresh potatoes during midsummer. That's in about a month and 6 weeks? Swedish tradition. It's wonderful to garden, really. I'm so happy in this place. I wouldn't be anywhere else in the whole world, to be honest. Nowhere. This is the place to be.
That's exactly what we experienced last year, as we hadn't given ourselves the right conditions to succeed with the garden in the first place. And therefore it ended up being too time-consuming for us, and we gave up. The lesson, if anything, is a big part of what life is really about. That we all have to find and discover what conditions we need in order to cope with everything we take on and want to do. To think that a garden can teach you so much about life. Later in the week, we had some little but much needed rain. It wasn't much, but it's always something. In this particular dry start to the summer, we should be happy for what we get. It cleared up later in the afternoon. It's time to bed down the steers. There's a quote that goes, "Don't fly higher than your bills can carry." This proverb reminds us to always be careful with our assets. As a farmer, I have a deep-rooted mindset of wanting to save for hard times, something that the modern society of abundance, fortunately, has not managed to squeeze out of me. For me, it's usually about saving feed and straw for winter, as these are sometimes very hard to come by. Fortunately though, I have some straw left over from last year, but I still try as often as I can to use dry hay bales when bedding down the cattle. The lesson I learned last year, after a difficult period of unsettling weather in late summer, is that it was very challenging getting the straw dry enough to bale in between the rains. There was even a shortage of straw in the region where we live, and every farmer held on to every bale they had, and there was nothing to buy. At the same time, as you have to learn to be careful with your assets, you also have to keep in mind something that the 17th century English philosopher and statesman Francis Bacon once said: "Money is like manure, to no use if it isn't spread." In my case, this can also be applied to straw, which in a certain sense, on a year like this, is worth more than money, and is truly worthless if I don't use it and spread it around. Anyway, it feels really good to go into the next winter with a little stock saved since last year. How the end of the summer will turn out is anybody's guess, but if it's anything like last summer, unfortunately it might be just as tricky getting the straw dry and baled, as it looks like the later part of the summer can be very rainy and unstable. But I guess that's all part of the charm of farming. You make a plan, and nature does something else, and you need to adapt.
So it's the 10th of May right now, today, and summer's here. We're having the 10-day forecast is promising really wonderful weather. Up about 20 degrees Celsius every day. Sun. The heat is here, or the warmth is here. So the grass is just going to explode now and green up really nicely. So I'm not sure, but maybe this is the last bale for them. I'm not quite sure yet.
We're moving into summer, one of my favorite times of the year, and life really is a lot easier now than it was just a few months ago, when it was dark, cold, wet, and icy. As the season changes, it also reminds me to be grateful for everything I have, making sure I spend my time on things I enjoy that brings equality to my life and others is probably one of the most important things I can do to create a good life for myself and the people around me. Just like a garden, life also is about what conditions you start with and how you manage to grow something beautiful from what you have where you are in your life. Anyway, we're moving into the most beautiful time of the year now, and I'm choosing to feel grateful and optimistic.
So I'm replanting all the tomatoes right now. There was quite a lot of them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 5. So 7 times 7 is 49, 42. So I have about 35 tomato plants here, and not all of them made it. But yeah, I'm a bit behind. Such is the season, to be behind on everything. I feel I should have done this quite a few weeks ago to replant them, but it's been so cold, and I haven't been able to get them out. Without the fear of frost. But now it looks like we are in for at least 10 days of, on the plus side, no frost in sight. So feeling hopeful, very hopeful. So I don't know if I mentioned it in a previous video, the different types of tomatoes that we're growing, but I'll just show you. We have a pasta tomato, an Italian, the classic San Marzano. We have another pasta tomato, Bale Star. We have a bush tomato, Subarctic Plenty, or cherry tomato, and here's the cherry Gardener's Delight, and another bush tomato called Coralique, Solanum lycopersicum. Yeah, so quite a lot to do, but I mean, they're all gonna be moving out here eventually anyway. My next challenge is just to make sure that the layers don't get into this side, because they're on the other side of the polytunnel, and I know that some of them do actually make it to this side and walk around here during the day. So I don't want them coming up here and eating my tomato. So my neighbor is building a sauna. I can hear them hammering away, talking in the distance. There's a, you know, the barking of a dog somewhere off. The blackbird is singing in a tree. And it's this moment during a day on the farm where it's such a special moment, because the hectic day is just sort of coming to an ease and slowly, you know, slowing down. And I love this moment of the day when everything just slowly is brought to a pause or a standstill. It's yeah, it's quite special. And now with the days getting longer, it's you know, it's hard to go to bed. Soon, when it's midsummer, it'll be daylight 24/7. So in a few weeks we're there.